Okay, in this video we're going to talk a little about the 3D printing tools in Matrix 8. And to start off, we're going to take a look at this file here. It's already been converted into uh, a mesh by our mesh repair utility, and you can find that in another video. But for now, we are going to take this ring and we're going to look at it and kind of see where it might need some supports. So what I'm going to do is open the 3D printing tools, and then the very first button here, it says show support regions. If I click that, you can see in the command line I have the option to add an object. So I'm going to click add object and then click my ring, and I'll press enter, and now you can see the ring turns kind of a gray color. So I like to switch over to the machine shade mode just to get rid of all the wires and edges there of the mesh. So in looking at this, if I flip it and look from underneath, you can see that some areas are marked in red. Now these are areas that may need supports, okay, and that red area is determined by this degree that you set. So depending on the material and the machine that you're using, this angle may change. 35 works pretty good for most stuff, so we're going to leave it there. And so if we take a look at this, you can see all the stuff that is facing downward kind of gets painted with red, and this is just a suggestion. It's not saying you absolutely need support, or maybe the gray areas you absolutely don't need support, but it's just kind of a guideline. So if I look in here, for instance, some of these small areas where it just barely got some of the prongs, you probably don't need support on these areas until you get down in here where you can definitely see there's a lot more red. Also inside the little holes here, that's probably going to be self-supporting, so we don't need supports there. The areas we're concerned with are really in the bottom of the ring, inside the ring rail here, and then of course these supports underneath the halo and the bottom of the halo itself. Okay, so that's that. So now that I kind of have an idea of where I need to place the supports, I can begin to do so with our support tools, and we have a range of different support defaults and sizes and tapered and all kinds of symmetry action and things like that. So we'll take a look at that now that we kind of know where we need to put the supports. Okay, now that we've looked at our piece and kind of decided where we need support, we can go over here to the 3D printing tools, and we'll click on the fourth button here. So we're going to move past the text options here and right into ring sprue support. So if I click that, it says select a ring to sprue, so I'll select my ring, and it gives me a little base. So as I'm looking at this, it does a pretty good job figuring out where to put this, but sometimes we might need to make a few adjustments. So you can see this doesn't cover up the red area. That's not really necessary. This does a pretty good job of getting the bulk of it, which is really all I need. So there's some adjustments we can make here in the command line. So we have top length and width, which is controlling the oval here, kind of the profile of the top, and we have the same thing for the bottom, and then we have the base shape and in the height. So if I change the height, we can go ahead and change that. Maybe I'll take that down to like 4.8. You can see that gets a little shorter here. Also at 0.5 millimeter, maybe I want to make that just a tad thicker. I can take it up to 0.6 and my base gets a little bit thicker here on the bottom. So we can change our widths and maybe bring this out towards the edge, or if it's sticking out too far here, we can change the top width, bring it in just slightly to create more of an overhang there. So that's something you can dial in and really get just the way you want it. Now, I personally like the oval or the ellipse shape for the base, but we have the option here. If you click on where it says ellipse, you can say none, so that takes the base completely away. The ellipse is what we had. The rectangle just does a simple rectangle. And then you also have the option to do an outline, and this takes just a couple seconds to calculate. And what it does is it does kind of a silhouette of the looking down view um, to create that shape. So that's all well and good. For me, I tend to like the ellipse. It still allows you to get pretty good nesting and all that good stuff. So okay, so that's the sprue and the base. Once we're happy with that, we can just press enter and there's the geometry. Okay, so that is adding a sprue, a ring support sprue. Now the one next to that is just the support base. So if I delete my sprue here and I click on support base, I can click an object and I get just the base without the sprue. Now this is good for certain applications, like if you had prongs going all the way around, or maybe if you had a pendant or something that wasn't a ring and you don't want to have a sprue attached to it there. That base is there, and it has similar options here for rectangle, oval, and outline, and then of course the thickness and the offset. So the offset will just move that closer or further away from the object. All right. So for us, we want to stick with the ring support sprue, and that'll be that. So I'll commit to that, and we'll keep that. Alright, so in the next part, we'll start supporting the underside of our ring. Alright, now that we have our sprue base here, we're going to look at how to support some of this under gallery. Now there's a couple different ways we can go about this. I am going to kind of chase, I think, one way, and then we'll take a look at some options here. So if I look right here in the middle of the menu, we have support ring. It's the one that kind of looks like it has a tree inside the ring. Okay, so we'll click on that. And what that's going to do is it starts out, again, this says support ring, so it is a ring specific tool. It starts out here inside the ring rail, and you kind of get the base support or kind of an inner sprue, if you will. So I'll take that up about halfway. And then what we get here are branches, I guess you could call them. So this was the trunk, and now we're going to draw the branches. And you can see that this one tapers. We have some controls. You can see the circles here. That is going to control the diameter. We can set all of this in. We can set all this after we draw the supports. We'll go back and kind of edit some of the size and the angles and whatnot. All right, so with that, I need to support under the ring rail here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to turn on the X symmetry, and that will give me symmetry from kind of the left to the right of the ring. So we'll go ahead and click. I'll click here, here, and then we'll just put one kind of right there in the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to over support this ring on purpose just to kind of show you some of the different functionality. So when I go to support up here, I not only want the X symmetry, I'm going to turn the Y symmetry on as well, and that'll give me support on all four sides. Okay, so you can kind of see that. Alright, so when we do this, I'm going to click, again, I'm going to over support this on purpose just to kind of draw some support. So I'm just clicking out here, and you can see it's drawing on all four sides. Now when I get here in the middle, I could turn X symmetry off and just do the Y, and that will give me support on both sides. Okay, so you could go through and support more of this, but we have more than enough. I mean, again, this is over supported, but I kind of wanted to show you a few things. So we're going to right click and accept that. Now this is not geometry yet; it has not been committed, but what we can now do is grab some of these handles and adjust the angles and whatnot. So for instance, if I wanted to click here, I could now drag this down or up and change the angle. So we can go ahead and do that. I can change the size by clicking the circle and dragging inward, or I can type in a diameter if I'd like to do that. Okay, and you can see how everything just kind of follows along. Now, these dark blue ones are the kind of parent objects, if you will. So if I adjust one of these, you can see by clicking that ball I can change the angle. You can see it adjusts the other side as well. So I'll pull that out and kind of adjust that to bow out away from the ring a bit more. And then I'll click on the next one that's inside here. And I'll kind of do the same thing with that. So that ensures that it's not going to intersect the ring. Okay, and we'll take this and we'll bend that out and away from the ring as well. Okay, and then we have that one we already did. We have this one back here. Okay, and we'll go ahead and adjust that one as well. Okay, so after we're done, and we can reposition these by clicking and repositioning or changing the diameter. Alright, so all that is adjustable, and once we're done we'll go ahead and hit enter, and you can see that gives us our supports. Now again, this is over supported. I just kind of wanted to draw a bunch out there so you could see what it looks like. Alright, so that's that tool, and we can then run this again through our mesh repair tool and get it worked out. But okay, so there's that, and the next thing we're going to do is take a look at maybe a slightly different way of supporting this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these, and we'll dive into the next tool. Okay, so we looked at one way to support the underside here, and well, I got a little carried away with support. So let's take a look at another option. Okay, so we have a few support options here to the right. They're all similar, but really they're different presets. So I'm going to look at one of these. We have large, we have medium, and we have small. And I'm sorry, large, medium, and then just supports. Okay, and this would be the smaller one. Now, this is these are all kind of the same tool, just with different presets. So I'm going to work with the large tapered supports, just so so it's a little easier to see. Okay, so if I click on this, I get a little drop down, and we have a single support. We have a few options here. I actually want the one at the very bottom with the the quad mirror, which will be an X and Y symmetry. Okay, so I'll click on that, and we have a couple options in the command line. So the ones I want to point out are the shared start point and the auto project. Okay, so shared start point will allow me to start from the same point, let's say here, and reach up to the object here. And you can see my tapers kind of going in the reverse direction. We could change that by simply changing our numbers in the command line here. So you can see that I could support this by simply clicking here and here, and then maybe we do another one here. Okay, and the shared start point keeps the supports coming from one central location. Okay, so they all kind of start in the same place and then branch out. Now, if we go back to that tool, you can see I'm going to go ahead and switch these back the correct way, so we have start and end. There we go. I'm going to turn shared start point off and auto project on. Okay, so what this does, oh, and I have these backwards. So what this is going to do is wherever I click, it will project it to the base that we have created here. Okay, and again, I have my X and Y symmetry on. So these supports are a little large, but I'm keeping them big so we can see them a little easier. So I could click here, and then maybe we click here, and then here. Now, this may be a better solution. It's less that goes into the finger rail. It's not like the ones we had with the ones that look like a tree on the last one. So this may be a better solution. You could break these supports away. Again, these are a little heavy, but I just kind of wanted to show the tool. So we could do something like that. We could do a combination of this and our ring support here. So we could still do our ring support and go inside the finger rail and click, click, and click. So we could still get this style support going. Oop, and I snapped to something bad. Here we go. All right, so we could still do that. That's all well and good. So you can use these tools together to really get good supports. Now, the one note to make when you are using these, if you have the auto project option turned on and you have the shared start point option turned on, it will ignore the shared start point because no matter what, it will project to the base. Okay, so no matter what, it will do that. So if you have both of those turned on, it will ignore the shared start point. All right, so there's that tool, and again, these are the same. They're just presets at different sizes. All right, so in the next part, we're going to take a look at one more support tool, and then some other options. All right, so we've talked about the supports and things, and I deleted it just so we could a little easier to look at here. I'm done with the kind of analyze display mode here with the red and the gray. So to get out of that, if I click and open my support tools again, and I start this show support regions, there is a remove object. I click that, I click my ring, and I press enter. And that will get me back to my regular shaded mode. Okay, so from here, I want to do a couple other things, and we'll assume that I have all my supports made and everything is good. The next thing I want to do is kind of assign a job number, or we could do a job number, we could do a name, we could do maybe a center stone size or finger size or whatever it is we want. But for us, we're just going to pretend it's a job number. So to do that, we have a couple different options. The first one here is orient text on surface. It's the second button over. If I click that, it says enter text to orient. So we're going to go ahead and say job 123. Okay, so you can see I just typed that right in the command line. I press enter, and it says surface to orient on. So if I click this surface, you can see it comes in kind of sideways. Now, we don't really know how you make your surface, so there's not really a good way to get this right 100% of the time. So if it comes in sideways, upside down, or something like that, all you got to do is go up here to rotate, and if you click this, you can see it rotates at 90 degrees. If we click it again, it'll rotate at 90 degrees again. Another option is just to click to type R, so you can see R is in the command line, and right click. R, right click, R, right click. So that'll rotate it as well. You get it lined up the way you want, and you simply click. And that will drop that text onto that surface. And you can see it's a positive. Okay, so there that is. And then with this one, it's a little longer, so we may need to do some scaling to make sure it all intersects, but that's all well and good. All right, so if we run that command again, you can see you have a font size and a thickness. So I scaled mine, but we can definitely fix that if we know it's going to be too thin. So we can change this. Maybe we'll change this to 0.8, and we'll type job 123 again, and click our surface. I'm going to say R enter, R enter, R enter, and get it rotated around. And we'll just simply drop that text in, and it intersects. We could always move this in or anything if it sticks out too far. So there that is. And that doesn't stick out far enough that it should need support. It should be good just how it is. So I put that on the sprue. You could stick that on any surface. So if you have like an interior surface or something you want to put that on, that's fine. But it does work really nice here on the little bases. So okay, the other option. The other option is to put text on the inside of the finger rail. Now, the finger rail text is here, so it says finger rail text. It requires a ring rail. So I'm going to get out of machine mode and go back to shaded. I don't have a ring rail yet, so let me go ahead and load that in. I know this ring's a 5 1/4, so I'll go ahead and drop that finger rail in. Now, with the support tools, if I click on finger rail text, it has the same thickness, font size, things like that, and it has how many degrees the text will span. So we have a lot of options here. Let's go ahead and type in job 123. And we'll do that. Now you can see it draws a little curve, does its business, and it drops it down. So let's assume we want that in a different location. Alright, so I'll delete that. And we'll say finger rail text. Let's, we must have lost our finger rail here, so let me go ahead and drop in another one. I think I probably deleted it when I deleted the text. So there that is. And then we'll go to our 3D printer tools and finger rail text. Now this time I'm going to make it a little thicker, so we'll go to 0.5. And the placement start angle was at 220. Let's make this maybe 120. Should put it somewhere over here. So let's say 120. And we'll press enter, so you can see that brings it over here to this side. Okay. Alright, so there that is, and we're ready to go. So that's two ways to get kind of the job number, and I didn't type my text, it just defaulted to matrix. So so there's that. So that's how to add text, some sort of identifier to your job before it goes on the machine. And again, we could swipe all this and take it to our mesh repair utility and just unify it all one more time for good measure. Alright, so here we are. I have a slightly different model now, and this one poses some unique challenges. So let's take a look at it. Right now, it's just in our default shaded mode. You can see it's a mesh. It's all been unified and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and we'll do our show support regions. Alright, so I'll do add object, and there's my object. I'll switch over to machine mode. That's a little easier to see. So you can see all the red areas. So we could go through and put our base and our supports and all that. For this one, I am going to make a little base, but I'm going to leave the supports for the inside of the ring rail out for now, just so it's a little easier to see everything. So let's go ahead and make this base. Select the ring. And there that is. So that's all well and good. I'm happy with that. We'll just leave it as is. Alright, so there that is. Okay, so let's take a look at these prongs. That's really what I want to focus on. This stuff up here is pretty straightforward. We could put a couple supports here and on the ring, and then of course the upper halo here. But these are always a challenge. These are the down-facing prongs. Now, as you get up here above the kind of 3 and 9 o'clock positions on the ring, as we get up here, even though these have red, they're pointed slightly upward, and that tells me that we'll be okay. So we're really only concerned with maybe this set and then down. Alright, so how do we take care of that? Well, we have a tool that is the blend supports. Now what this allows you to do is click on one point and then another point, and it will do kind of an arc between those 2 points. Alright, so let's go ahead and click on that, and you can see we have some symmetry options. So we'll go ahead and click on the first one, that is the quad mirror, because this ring is symmetrical in both the X and Y axis. So go ahead and click that. We have some start points and end points, so I'll go ahead and click a start point, and you can see I have some adjustments. Okay, so I have adjustments for what's called the arm length, the blend tension, and of course the diameters. So I'm going to go up on the diameter just a little bit, so we'll go up to maybe 0.4 for the start and the end. And then the arm length and blend tension, the purpose of those really is to create separation from the model. Now I'm going to leave it with the default, but let's just take a look at it for a second. If I wanted this to blend out further away from the ring, I could increase the arm length or decrease the tension. If I wanted it to pull in closer, I could probably just decrease the arm length or increase the tension. So for now, we're going to leave it as is. Now you can go straight up from one prong to another and do both sides at the same time. But what's a lot of fun is if you crisscross them here, creates a pretty neat looking structure. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to go up, and you see I'm just going from one side to the other. And I went up right to the ones, like I said, I'm just worried about these. We could go up another set. These are kind of facing straight out, but I'm just going to leave that as is. Alright, so there that is. We kind of jumped from one prong to another. And now we have these kind of elbows that are hanging down here. We can use the same tool. So I'll just right click, and I'm going to click on this point, and we're going to go up just a little on our diameter. So we're going to go start diameter is 0.5 this time, end diameter is 0.5, and you can see we have the quad symmetry. So we'll just go down. You know what? We'll go up even higher on our end diameter. Maybe we'll go to 1 for that, and we'll just bring those right together, just like that. All right, so we can say that that should grow. We can go in and add more stick supports if we want, or we could even come off of one of these. But I think we'll be good. So that's a good way to do these down-facing prongs. Do that. You can also use it to support in between gallery rails here and things like that. But that's not bad. So if we add the supports to the inside, we should be good to go. Yeah.